The more I was studying the videos of your many talks, since I'm trained as a scientist, okay, the more I was trying to understand, but then, of course, I always understand probably from a body-mind point of view. And my question was always the awareness thing. I thought when I look at the lamp, I'm aware of the lamp. Yes, my intention goes there. But that awareness is the fact that my eye has, from the lamp, formed the image on my retina. And the retina will send out electrochemical signals to my neural network. And neural network will process that data and compare with other lamps or illuminating objects that I've seen and identify that as a lamp. So when I say I'm aware of the lamp, and basically it's a body-mind thing, right? That's how I think, even to this moment. The only thing that you said that throw me off is, am I aware? Because then suddenly I'm aware of what? That?
Let's say you weren't trained as a scientist. just because your scientific training is a very specific conditioning of your mind. It's just one way of conditioning a mind. Would you acknowledge that your scientific training was the product of your culture's conditioning? You presumably went to university or whatever. Yeah, it's a particular way your mind has been conditioned to interpret your experience.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so just put that model on one side. And use a different criteria to explain your experience. And the criteria being, stay rigorously with your experience and try to describe what you're actually experiencing. Would you agree, for instance, that the lamp that you see is a perception?
Yeah, it is. That's also from another part of my education too.
It's true. We can't. If we're going to talk about this, of course, it's conditioned. But it's. What I'm trying to do is to try to get you to refer to your direct experience before you filter it through your conventional materialistic scientific education. Would you agree that all you know is experience?
Yes.
Would you agree that all experience takes place in your mind?
Yes.
What validity is there then to your belief that there is something outside mind?
There's validity.
There is?
There is validity. There's something outside the mind.
Can you point now to something in your experience that is outside mind?
Well, like, am I aware it's outside of my mind? That's why I get so confused.
No. Being aware is the essential nature of your mind. The essential nature of your mind is its knowing quality. Yes?
Yes.
Whatever you are experiencing, you are knowing it.
True.
If you're experiencing the lamp, you are knowing it.
True.
If you are deeply depressed, you are knowing it.
Yes.
If you are walking with your wife in the park, you are knowing it. So knowing is the essential ingredient of the mind, irrespective of the content of the mind. Okay. If you're having a near-death experience, you are knowing it. Mm-hmm. Yes?
Yes.
If you're having breakfast, you are knowing it.
Yes.
So knowing, that's what I mean by awareness. Knowing or being aware is the essential ingredient. When I say the essential ingredient, I mean that part of the mind that cannot be removed from it. Close your eyes. Okay, that the perception you were having a few minutes ago has vanished. Yeah?
Yes.
Now open your eyes again. A new perception appears. Mm-hmm. So a perception is not essential to the mind. Perceptions are coming and going all the time. Mm-hmm. Thoughts are coming and going all the time. Feelings are coming and going, but the only element of the mind that is essential to it, that cannot be removed from it, is its knowing quality. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, have you ever had an experience, or could you ever have an experience, or has anybody ever had an experience that is independent of this knowing quality of the mind?
That's not possible.
What legitimacy is there, therefore, to the belief that there is something called an outside world that stands with its own independent existence, separate from knowing? When you yourself have just acknowledged that nobody could ever experience such a world, that is a world independent of knowing.
I have to answer this way. If I say the sun exists independent of me, okay, or independent of my knowing, that's possible if I say that, right? Because we have done numerous measurements, and we know that statement is probably true.
Okay. Let's say you were to... where do you live?
I live in California, Fremont. East Bay here.
East Bay, okay. So let's say you're at home in the East Bay, and you fall asleep one night, and you dream that you're attending my retreat at Burlingame.
Okay.
And in this dream, it's the first morning of the Mercy Center retreat, and you find yourself sitting in the second row with the mic in your hand asking a question.
Okay.
In other words, in your dream, you are dreaming the exact experience that you are having now. Okay. It's quite possible. You could have a dream.
Right.
Yes? So, in your dream, you and I are talking with each other. And I am trying to suggest to you that everything appears in awareness. And you are trying to tell me, no, the sun over there obviously appears independent of my mind. Well, it may seem to be outside your finite mind, but remember, the entire contents of your dream is taking place in your mind asleep in Burlingame, in East Bay. How do you know that we are not now having a kind of dream, and that each of our minds are not appearing within and made of the same indivisible field of infinite consciousness? Just as all the images and thoughts that appear in your individual mind appear in and are made of the same indivisible field of your own mind.
I think you made a very, very strong argument. I couldn't refute your argument at this moment, but my background tells me the objective world, like you describe it, okay, the objective weather, even including certain feelings. The objective world that we all live in and we all talk about, and they have a certain regularity to it.
I know what your conditioning tells you.
Sorry.
We're all very familiar with it. But your argument that the appearance of the outside world has a regularity to it is you are using that argument in defense of your old model. But I'm not denying that there is a regularity to appearances. But why do you use the fact that there is a regularity to the world as proof that it is stuff made out of matter? Why could there not still be a regularity to the way mind unfolds within consciousness? After all, your own thoughts unfold within your own mind, and there is a regularity to them. So we know from our own experience that the content of mind unfolds according to patterns of regularity. Why couldn't the image called the world, which appears in the great mind, the infinite mind called consciousness, also appear with regularity? In other words, why do you think that regularity is proof of your materialistic model rather than an inevitable outcome of the consciousness-only model?
Again, you made a very strong argument. I cannot.
I'm going to enjoy this week with you. I can feel it already. Well, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
It's only Monday morning. I have just in our conversation in the last 10 or 15 minutes, a crisis has been provoked in your mind. As you say, I have made a very strong argument.
Yes.
And my argument is based entirely on experience that you and I can validate for ourselves. So I'm not telling you something that I have any special access to. I haven't said anything this morning that I have knowledge of that you don't have. The reason why you were convinced by my argument is not because I was giving you some extraordinary knowledge, but because I was pointing to something that you could verify in your own experience. And that conflicts with your deeply held beliefs. And so now you have a problem.
I do have a problem.
Yeah, and that's very good.
I wouldn't be here if I don't have a problem.
But I'm just bringing the problem into sharp focus. So you have your materialistic paradigm, which we've all been brought up with, and you have the evidence of experience, and they don't agree with each other. So, and this, you're here because already you have intuited the discrepancy between belief and experience, and I'm now shining a bright light on that, formulating that crisis.
Okay.
And I suggest already we've come quite a long way this morning.
Okay.
Ponder this afternoon when you're out walking or whatever, ponder the conversation we've had so far. Okay. And it has many implications to it. I would encourage you not to take anything I say as truthful unless you can test it in your own experience. Okay. Trust your own experience before trusting me. I may make statements, but I would suggest that those are just like suggestions to you. Here's a statement, try it on, test it in your experience.
I will, yeah.
And then the testing of these statements in your experience will take you down avenues, avenues of reasoning and through thought experiments. And at some point you'll keep coming to crossroads, and your old conditioning will come on and say, come back and say, turn left. And your experience will say, turn right. And you'll not be sure which way to go. And then we'll carry on. I will always represent experience, the voice of experience.
Okay.
So we'll carry on over the next days, exploring this together, and just stay open. I don't want to convince you of anything, apart from one thing. I want to convince you of one thing, in fact. I want to convince you to trust your experience, to be like a true scientist. Only trust that which can be validated in experience.
I welcome your statement.